Avoids are a tough topic because a lot of people get upset when you don't like their player. Hey, Smitty, he's going to have a good year. I love Gus Bus over in LAC, Smitty. You'll see Harbaugh's going to run the ball well. Well, we'll start off with running backs. I got some running backs I would stay clear of, and we can certainly kick around some of the running back names you want to talk about. The phone lines will be open here in a second, but I want to talk about 4 specific running backs I do not want you guys going anywhere near in 2024, the Fantasy Football Show Graveyard Stream, and we will draft. So we'll draft after. Draft stream, live draft, live best ball draft stream. Graveyard Stream begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Live when news breaks, live at midnight most nights, graveyard streams, midnight, live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, live when big news breaks, and then these midnight streams that you're watching right now. We're talking about running back avoids, or AKA bust, if you will, in some of these cases. And, you know, these are not names I don't think a lot of you guys are going to be on board walking into 2024, so I don't think I'm going to shock too many people, but I'm staying absolutely away from these 4 guys to start off with. We're going to open it up to a bigger discussion in another video, but I thought I'd come in here and talk about these specific guys right away. And Gus Edwards is walking into his 29-year-old season. He just turned 29, I believe, in August. And that is a dreaded year for an RB, especially one that suffered injuries as much as Gus Edwards has. He's had the torn ACL. He's backed up by a torn ACL and Achilles tendon recovering running back in J.K. Dobbins. This room is an entire void except for Vidal, the rookie. You can draft Vidal. I like drafting only Vidal, standalone Vidal, and you can see that he's one of the better cuffs in the National Football League in terms of fantasy football production in 2024. This is my must cuff board. Obviously, Kyron and Corum are the number 1 handcuff in fantasy football, period. Benson and Connor, number 2. And this trio here, in this very weird relationship where Wright can be a cuff to either one of these guys, or you can just cuff all 3. And it's a very, very lucrative cuffing situation. And then eventually, this is kind of the bold take that Garendo gets a hold of the job and kind of becomes the number 4. Until then, it's kind of a placeholder for now. But Vidal's the only running back to own. He's the only running back to own. There's not another running back you should draft in this backfield in LAC. There's just no runners that you should be drafting but Vidal. Edwards has a long injury history. J.K. Dobbins, Denny, hold on, Denny's dialing it. Denny, Denny, I'm in the middle of the beginning of the show. I'm not taking phone calls in the first 5-10 minutes of any show, pal. So you got to call back. I appreciate you, though. How you doing? Okay? Is this an emergency? Are you calling from the pen? What's going on? You okay?
No, I'm okay.
Okay,
Dude,
okay.
Stop yelling at me.
I'm not yelling at you.
Stop yelling at me.
Call back in and just give me 5 minutes. Are you watching the show? Do you even watch the show, Denny, or do you just call into the phone line? Just be honest with me.
I watch all the time.
Okay.
I watch it. Yeah.
I mean, so when you decided to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm going to interrupt Smitty in the middle of his rant right here, I'm just wondering what went through your mind. Denny, hang tight. I would put you on mute, but I don't trust you to interrupt me. So call back in and call, right when I'm done with these running backs, okay? Call right back in. I want Denny to call in immediately, okay? We need some Denny in our lives tonight. All right?
I'll be here.
Don't pass out. Don't pass out. We'll see you in a second. All right, Denny's going to dial back in. I never understand. Someone's going to call in and ask, not Denny specifically, but someone will call in and ask a fantasy question right in the middle. A super chat can interrupt. I'll read a super chat right away. If you drop a super chat, I will stop the show and read it because that's the way it rolls. But Vidal is the only back to own. This guy, Gus Edwards, is going to break right away. The GM, the brass in Chargerville, they keep saying things like, this is the finisher. He's the punisher. We're going to feed the guy the rock. They bring in J.K. Dobbins, this Mickey Mouse type of build over in that Chargers running back room, not to mention the entire team. It's just it feels like a Mickey Mouse organization right now. Not only have they continued to fail Herbert, who is capable of being a top 6 quarterback in the National Football League. I want to preface that right now. But this team has failed Herbert. And even though maybe from a football perspective, NFL only for that keyboard Clifford right now that's just typing away so angry that I'm talking about his Chargers. Maybe you win games. Maybe you muster out some wins. Maybe Harbaugh ball does okay in the NFL initially. It'll take some time, I think, but I'm not calling him a bust, but it is certainly no fantasy football situation anybody should want a part of. It really isn't. McConkey, I mean, I like him. I'm just a little fearful that our expectations will be as high as they were when we thought there was a possibility that Harbaugh would draft Neighbors after giving away Keenan Allen. This is an absolute garbage of a situation that I could have built 10 times better than Harbaugh. You can say whatever you want. Oh, Smitty, big tough guy, knows more than Harbaugh. I'm not saying I can coach better than Harbaugh, but I can damn well tell anybody that calls my phone line how I could have built a better team in the snap of a finger than Harbaugh's doing right now. Regardless of how good of a coach he is, this is absolutely laughable what he's been doing over in LAC. You ironically bring over your brother's 2 running backs, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, together. Give me a break. Vidal was a good pick. He's the only potential saving grace in this running back room. And I don't know how the hell it's going to function when this is the bread and butter. This is the secret sauce for the Chargers. We're going to run the damn ball, build from the trenches, take Joe Alt, who doesn't even fit your offensive line. You're going to move him over now because you drafted a player that you don't even have a need for, his specific position. This is a Mickey Mouse situation right now. And I want no part of it unless it's Vidal at the end of my draft. That is pretty much it. Read it and weep, Denny, says Charles T. Charles T interrupting with the super chat because he can. Because he can. Anyway, look at that. I hit the wrong button, but boy, am I glad I did. Look at that. Look at that monster sitting there. That JD5 monster. Absolute glorious man. It's going to bring joy to the faces of every fantasy football watcher from this channel, at least. Charles T, appreciate you dropping the goodness. Let's move on over to Aaron. Let's move to Tony Pollard while we're on extremely disappointing players. I think these two guys could muster up some goodness in the beginning of the year, potentially, and I'll go over that in a second. These two guys I have no faith in. Number one, you got Tajay Spears nipping at the heels of Tony Pollard, just biting, chewing at his heels, saying, I'm coming for you. Not to mention, even if Pollard does well out of the gate, you have a guy in Spears that's heavily involved in the receiving game, so Pollard is already half a running back no matter what from the jump because Spears is taking he's spearheading the receiving room. Denny, you're not watching. Denny, I knew you weren't watching. I knew you weren't watching, Denny. I knew you weren't.
Watching you. I'm watching you.
I'm on running back 2 out of 4. I'm on running back 2 out of 4. How could this have been the right time to dial in? I'm just curious. What's going through the mind of Denny?
Thinking about you.
Yeah, you thinking about
me? You gotta crush it. You gotta get these guys, dude. Oh,
you're not watching. You got to get these guys. You're not watching, Denny. Denny, are these guys on screen the guys we should go get? Or prove to me you've been watching this show. These are the 4 guys, right? These are the monsters?
No, they're garbage. They're garbage. Smitty?
You're about to pass out. Denny,
you're my best friend I ever had, all right?
Hey, Denny, I love you, pal. Call back after watch the show. Turn it on, please. I'm literally on running back 2. As soon as I finish running back 4, dial in, okay?
Wow.
All right. Thank you, Denny. Appreciate you.
No, Smith. No. We're right here. We're in the rip, all right?
We're in the rip.
What the hell's going on, man?
I don't think he's calling back. Denny, I last time you were about an 8 out of 10 in terms of being awake about 4 minutes ago. You're at about a 3. Let's see if you can call in after the. No. I'm never mad at you, Denny. I'm never mad at you. It may sound like I'm never mad at you, Denny. But let's see if you can make it to number 4, okay? All right, call back right after I'm done. Oh, good God. Okay, so Where was I? Out of the gate, this guy's not getting the volume in the PPR department. He's half a running back. That's if he stays healthy. That's if he produces. And as much as I love Pollard, look, I'll take a big fat lap. I take ownership for my role in perpetuating the drafting of Tony Pollard last year. And even if we put up Tony Pollard's stats here on screen, you know, he was running back 5 in week number 1. He had 2 touchdowns. And I think we all were kind of rejoicing in the fact that this guy had 2 touchdowns. He's a top 5 running back, not top 10. He's top 5. Week number 2, he's top 11. That's right there in the midst of being a top 10 running back. Week 3, okay, kind of getting a little bit close to the 15 mark, but he's still inching. He's still inches away from being a top 10 running back. At this point, we're kind of all smiles, right? Running back 26, running back 28. These were 2 bad weeks for us that were believing in Pollard. Then he dropped to 11. Not bad. Like, at the end of the day, this is pretty decent production, right? Okay, there's 12 starting running backs in fantasy football that are the running back 1, and there's 12 starting running backs that are running back 2. And then you say in a flex league, you got about 6 others. So he's playing still with the 5, the 11, the 13, and 11 as a running back 2, a high-end running back 2 at this juncture in the season. Bye week, and then the rail, it fell off the rails. 41, 26, 41, 12, 6, 12. Those weren't bad right here. 16, 36, 48, 46. And then we don't really count week 18 no matter what it is. This is not a good year. And really in this territory is where I lost faith. I still felt like there was a shot. He was coming back from the injury. Maybe his leg wasn't 100% yet. But then it was that one touchdown run where he literally had the angle. And there's no way, if I put the screenshot up, there's no way he doesn't score. It was almost like from me to the screen. And the defender was like over in the corner of my studio. And all I have to do is come right here with the ball and I score a touchdown. And he cuts in toward the defender. It was almost like he had a Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty little contest on himself on the under on a touchdown because he literally gave up the touchdown. And at that point, I wrote him off. I said, this can't happen anymore. This can't happen anymore. And this guy's going to, you could say a crafty situation, but not a situation I picture being this glorious landing spot where, you know, flowers are blooming, toilet paper is plentiful, there's no masks involved, everything, the air is pure. This is a place where running backs go to prosper, and it's nothing but glory. I think this is going to be a mix of up and down as Levis tries to find his way. And yeah, Ridley, you got Hopkins. It's a pretty decent, formidable group of weapons you're giving Levis, but we still don't know what it is. And Tennessee didn't really prove very smart to get rid of A.J. Brown. They didn't prove very smart, I think, to not try their best. I mean, I'm sure they had conversations to keep Derrick Henry and they wanted to move on. But move on to what? You're going to move on. I know it's up to Henry, but you're going to move on to what? What are you moving on to? Pollard, and then you're not using Spears as I don't know. I don't love it. I'll draft Spears standalone. Spears is one of the better handcuffs in fantasy. In fact, I probably want to move him up this list a little bit. It's hard to order these guys, but I think Spears is probably warranted about right here instead of down here. This guy's a win-a-league player. Vidal's a kind of, I don't know about win-a-league player, but close to that kind of value. So Vidal and Spears at this juncture in the video, at this moment in time, through my list of top 4 avoid running backs so far, I would say I love the standalone value of the RBs that are sitting behind both Gus Edwards and Tony Pollard, and I only draft the backup running back. That's it. Not J.K. Dobbins, Vidal, and then I only draft Spears. Not interested in either of these guys at almost any point in a draft. I don't care where in the hell it is. And on the Gus Edwards front, because I didn't pull up Gus Edwards stats, and I know some of you are wondering, okay, you showed me Tony Pollard's. I kind of feel like Gus Edwards had a pretty good year. You would think that because he had a couple big games. He had a week number 6 game, a 3, and a 6, and that kind of vaulted up Gus Edwards' value. And we're talking about Gus, so let me throw this marker over Gus again because we're circling back real quick. 45, running back 45 in fantasy football, standard scoring PPR. 22, 47, 35, 37, 37. He was horrible. He was horrible at the beginning of the year. Horrible. And you might say, oh, was he getting volume? He was. They just don't give a lot of volume to the RB. I think they will do differently in Baltimore, but even if they don't, remember, we're counting on massive touchdown volume from Henry, and Todd Monken will give him opportunities because Lamar slimmed down to 205 pounds, which I think is very reckless, by the way. 215 is kind of his sweet spot. He stayed healthy last year. He had cut from 230 to 215. It kind of worked. Why go to 205? He weighs less than JD5. When people say, oh, Smitty, JD5, he's so skinny, he's going to get broken. He weighs more than Lamar Jackson. Now, for all the smart, Sammys out there that are running their mouth about this kid, guess what? Everybody that says Lamar is going to the moon, well, guess what? JD5's going to the moon, and he weighs more. So, Gus Edwards, horrible, right? Week 7, number 6. Week 8, number 3. Week 9, 11. Not bad. 36, then he drops off again. 48, bye week. 63, 17, 18, 29. It was a really, really bad year all in all for Gus Edwards. 52 in week 18, but we don't really count week 18. But just showing you this volume was not good across the board. So that's one reason why we stray away from Edwards. Aaron Jones is turning, he's turning 20. Actually, how old is Pollard? Ziggy, how old is Tony Pollard?
Tony Pollard is 59 years old.
59 years old.
He was born in 1965.
Ziggy off. That isn't good. That's definitely not what you want to hear when we're talking about a running back avoid. So we're going to stay away from Tony Pollard. He doesn't know what he's talking about. His real age is 27. So it's not like he's dropped off, he's 29 years old or whatever. Edwards is 29 years old. Gus Edwards is 29 years old. Tony Pollard is 27. There's a little bit of room for him to have another year or two before we start even worrying. But given all the things I mapped out, it doesn't change anything. Aaron Jones is 29 years old, and he turns 30 years old in December. So during the season, he turns 30 years old. He's not Derrick Henry. He's had injury history in his past, specifically even last year. At the age of 28, turning 29 in December last year. So he played at 28 for the majority of the year, turned 29 in December, and turning 28 is the kiss of death, hold your breath season, which is why we're worried about CMC, which is why Kamara fell off, which is why Eckler fell off, which is why Aaron Jones fell off, which is why a lot of running backs fall off at the age of 28. So his 28 season was last year, but he turned 29 in December. He's 29 now, turning 30 in December. And he really did not have a good year. He missed a handful of games sporadically throughout the entire year, which is a warning sign and an indicator that his age and mileage is catching up to him to where it's impacting him in several spots in the year. And the fact that he didn't bounce back upon his return, except for one time, running back 7 in week 9, 26, 31, 31, 51, missed game, 21, 16, 18. It's not a good look. And he kicked off the year because he didn't show signs of decline the year prior. So, okay, he could walk in and fire off. This is what McCaffrey could do. This is what scares me about McCaffrey. Is McCaffrey could walk into week number 1, 2, 3, 4 and do what Aaron Jones did. During his 28-year-old season, running back 1. Remember that? In week 1, he was running back 1, then he got hurt. And then we weren't sure how long he'd be out. And it was kind of like stretched. It was like, you don't know. Could it be a game? Could it be 2 games? Comes back. Then he goes out again. He came back too early. Then he's got the bye week. And so running back 1, this could happen. This is why selling a guy like McCaffrey, maybe after a month or 2 of football, isn't the craziest idea, but draft him. Because he has shown no signs of falling off. So McCaffrey should take what he did in 2023 and shoot it right in momentum-wise into 2024 and do what Aaron Jones did. Because there's no sign of decline, right? Mixon's showing a sign of decline. Mixon might be another one we're going to talk about on another show. But Mixon's showing a sign of decline. You can see it physically. Henry's showing a little bit of drop-off. But because the touchdown volume's there, we're excited about him. But I am a little worried about holding on to Henry all year. I'm a little worried about holding on to Mixon all year. I'm extremely worried about holding McCaffrey all year. And if Aaron Jones, did that at 28, you got to think this is possible for any 28-year-old running back, because that's when the body starts breaking down. It's not just about mileage too. It's about the age of a player, the age of the body. 28-year-old body's different responding to a lot of the workhorse volume. Unless you haven't had a history of workhorse volume your entire career, like a Mostert or a McKinnon. Those guys are 30-year-old players that did well, but in one shot, right? You're not going to see 2-3 years of it. It's just McKinnon did it and then he vanished. Mostert did it last year, and I don't know that we're going to see it again this year. That's why his ADP in Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, where they'll match 50% on your first deposit up to $250 by hitting this link right here. Hit that link right now. Jump in to a draft here in a second. So hit that code and get ready to jump into an underdog draft with me and everybody else in here. Aaron Jones, stay away. Stay away. The injuries tell you, the missed games tell you, the lack of running back production, all that red, he's a complete avoid. And now he's not where he was last year. He's in Minnesota with J.J. McCarthy. And you might say, oh, God, they're going to run the ball a lot, right? Guess what kind of defensive schemes? This guy's staring in the face over and over and over every single play. 8-man front, stack boxes, defenses that say, hey, McCarthy, beat us through the air. We're going to shut down your run game every single play. And I don't want any part of Aaron Jones. DeAndre Swift is another guy I'm extremely worried about walking into the season. He was a moon man last year, and he proved very effective at the beginning of the year. Not in week 1. We got a little worried. Running back 71. Then he was running back 4, running back 15, running back 12, running back 10, running back 9. We were kind of living on cloud 9 from week 2 until week 6. Running back 23, then 14, 25. So before the bye week, all in all, very good, return on our investment and very moon man worthy. And then coming off the bye week, running back 9. Now, I will say this, looking at the numbers even in more detail, it was more kind of about volume than it was him dropping off, I would say. But at the same time, they abused the hell out of him between the tackles. And he just wasn't, they didn't want to overfeed him, and he wasn't necessarily built for what they threw him into, this between the tackle monster workload, no passing environment there for him. And I think that changes for Barkley a little bit, but I think he comes out of this season completely worn, and I don't think he's built for it. Not to mention he's going to a running back room that is still crowded. Okay, it's not like Swift is the only guy. I believe they run a little bit of a rotation. We start hearing whispers of that, and Swift's value is going to fall in the coming weeks, but in months. But I don't want anything. I don't want any part of the rotation that's likely in Chicago. Not to mention the injury history and risk that comes with Swift, coming off of a very abused between the tackle season. The kind of mileage he got usually does break a running back, especially one that's not equipped to run all of his work between the tackles. And then you have the fact that this offense, I'm still not sold on Chicago. Caleb's been up and down so far. He was really, really solid the first couple days in camp. And then all of a sudden we get reports that there was mixed reviews on his last, what was it? It was Friday. So that's going to happen too. I'm not extremely worried about anybody. JD5 might have a bad day in the coming weeks. It's going to happen. But I'm just not sold on this offense. I'm not sold that the practices, even look at Fields in the preseason last year. He threw 2 almost untouched touchdowns that were 50 plus yards back to back. And everyone, including myself, was like, oh my God, we're in for a huge year. But it wasn't the case when the whistle blew and the game kicked off in week 1. And I just don't see the clarity here for the running game in Chicago, especially at the cost of entry for Swift. These are my big avoids in 2024, at least on the surface level, and we'll get deeper and call out bigger names like Mixon potentially and other RBs that might be a little bit more of a shocker to you. But these are guys I see people taking with confidence in hero RB draft strategies, zero RB draft strategies, and I would say take a cuff combo. Take Najee Harris and Warren together in the 80s and 90s together. You spend an 80 pick, something 80, and then a 90-something pick on Warren and Najee Harris. You spend an 80 pick on Connor and a 90 pick, something in the 90s, on Benson. Those are much better combos than to even consider either one of these 4 guys. That's going to be my lesson and message for today. Now Denny can call in. Now we're going to draft. Hit the link that's in the live chat. Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. We're going to go into a weekly winners $10 contest right now. So hit that link right now. Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. They'll match 50% on your first deposit up to $250. Go into the weekly winners. Hit the button now. Join in the most recent weekly winner draft. Hit it, do it live, jump in, and I'm jumping in as well to weekly winners. And we'll put that on screen here in just 1 second. Let me sign into it and show this draft on screen. Denny, you can dial in right now, my guy. Let's see if Denny's awake. What are the odds Denny's awake? I don't think Denny lasted that entire monologue. I don't think he could have. It seems nearly impossible. 5 more to start. Sebastian made it. Denny did not. Denny is not called in yet. Denny, call in, Denny. Sebastian, you're live.
I'm not gonna lie, I disagree with you on your DeAndre Swift take. Of
course you
to
do.
the point where he does get injured season long.
Of course you do.
maybe
You're
before
a
game
Bears
with
fan.
winners.
Go ahead.
No, I'm looking at the capital they gave him. They obviously don't love Herbert. I mean, Roshan hasn't moved up the depth chart. Like, the Swift is the only one getting paid in that backfield, and until he goes down, I think I'll be comfortable writing him out.
And that's fine. I mean, definitely a difference of opinion, and that's understandable with a name like that. That's not a obvious, like, everybody should be thinking the same way on him. But I mean, you're banking on so many things. What I always try and tell people is when there's multiple red flags and problems, you got to understand that the moving parts are there for it to fall apart more, and you've got a running game that can't get established. They can't support it. They can't develop it. You haven't seen it. Like, it's not there. They just continuously cannot produce a consistent run or find that elite runner. They can't do it with the quarterback position. And I already questioned the quarterback in play myself. And then you have a crowded room, regardless of the financials. They know they can't, as the Eagles did, and they did it anyway. They know they can't run Swift up the middle every time. They got to divide it up between Swift and at least one of the other RBs. But I think it's going to be a 3-headed monster. I don't think they just prioritize based on the money spent. Not to mention, the money's not big for any of those guys, bro. It's not like anybody's getting paid so much money as a running back that a coach is like, oh my God, we better use them, or we're not spending our draft capital properly. It's not like it's that costly to have Swift, get just the receiving work and 1/3 of the rushes. This is weekly winners, guys, which means that every week is independent from one another. No one single week, not week 1, not week 5, not week 10, is tied to the other. There's no playoffs. There's no more important week than another week. You literally are, it's almost like 17 individual leagues. Week 1 is a league. Week 2 is a league with the team you're drafting here. No changing it out, no ad drops, no lineups, no trades. You just draft, and then the system starts your best guys each week, and whoever out of the whole pool of weekly winners finishes as team 1 in week 1 wins $20K. The second place team gets 10K, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you could have your entire team get abducted by aliens and return safely in week 17. And you could fail. You could literally fail weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to week 16. Score 0 points because all your players are abducted by aliens. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, your team shows up in week 17. You score the most points out of any other team, and you win $20K. And you literally could win $20K every single week if you had a team that could ball like that. So that's weekly winners. That's what we're drafting right now. Hold on, Sebastian. I got Pete from North Dakota calling in, and then Rock Out with a super chat. It says in 2 drafts at the same time. Rock Out must have not got in the draft and then joined it again. Where is my lap on Dotson 2023? We've definitely all taken laps on Dotson 2023, but I very much like him in 2024. I love Dotson. I think Dotson's going going to be a late bloomer for us. Christian Watson, a late bloomer for us. Christian Watson figured out his hamstring issues according to many reports, and it's what I always talk about, the compensation. He's had one leg, never really fully recovered from bad hamstring injuries, and he continues to put more pressure on one leg than the other because they're slightly different sizes. They measured him. They need the symmetry the same, and so he's worked on that all offseason, will continue to, and will reportedly have less of a chance of having hamstring injuries. And Christian Watson was arguably his rookie year better than any wide receiver in the National Football League. Maybe almost ever, like if you looked at the data fantasy-wise, in a 4-game span. There was no player that had the amount of stats he had in a 4-game span than Christian Watson. He had 8 touchdowns in 4 games. It was absolutely unreal. Rockout's on the clock right now. Go ahead, Pete. You're from North Dakota, right? Yeah, you're live.
Yeah, man, how you doing? Hey,
Good.
I wanted you to discuss your strategy on like the onesie positions in these drafts, like quarterback and tight end. Do you normally get 2 of them or 3 of them? What do you like to do?
Always get 3. Always. Always get 3 tight ends. Always get 3 quarterbacks.
Then you what? 5 running backs and 7 wide receivers. Then
You can fluctuate that a little bit. You can go 5 RBs. If you go 4, you probably have a much less chance of winning. The data supports that. And I mean, you're talking about, I'm just spitballing it, but I believe it's somewhere around the 9 to 15% range of people placing top 10, etc. that had 4 RBs. So if you have 5 RBs, much better than 4 in terms of your likely outcome. 6 is okay. It's kind of in between. But then it's like, how many receivers do you have? Do you have 8 or do you have 7? You definitely don't want 6, but 7 or 8, somewhere in that sweet spot. I love the 20 rounds because it gives you way more flexibility. But usually those are for super flex, and they account for just having more quarterbacks. But definitely don't go with 2 tight ends. Definitely do not go with 2 quarterbacks. Your likelihood of winning with 2 quarterbacks is probably, I would say, of all the top 10 finishers, again, I'm spitballing on some of the data because I don't have it in front of me, but out of all the top 10 finishers, probably only like 5 to 8% of the people went 2 quarterback. But you also don't want to go 5 quarterback. You don't want to go 8 running back. You don't want to go 10 wide receiver. People that have more than 8 wide receivers, it starts to get really complicated as well, looking at data when people have 10 and 9. People think, if someone won with more wide receivers, you start thinning out and not balancing it properly, you'll get hit at a different position. So the sweet spot is 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends, and then just kind of 5 RBs or 6 RBs, and then let that dictate the remaining wide receiver room that you have.
thanks, man. You're great as always. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Pete. You can mute if you want to just stay on hold here. Rasheen, Ali, thoughts? I like Ali, but I'm not like super on board young yet. We needed to see more. It's not a player I'm like. Hold on 1 second. So I did this yesterday. Damn it. The running backs flew off the board. I'm gonna go Debo here. He's just the best player available. So I'm doing the double decker from the 3 spot, which is rare.
The double-decker, pronounced double-decker in academic circles, is drafting wide receiver back-to-back in rounds 1 and 2, using these plethoras of players. The double-decker.
So I'm not using those plethora of players. I'm using a different plethora of players because those guys weren't. We'll see what I end up with here, but I'm not going to force anything. I will go best player available every time. Sometimes it leads you with kind of a wild team, but that's okay. I don't mind that at all. And I'm not even going to force myself to go running back here. The top running back available, and I do very much like Josh Jacobs here. I don't mind it at all. But it's weekly winners, and I want that quarterback scoring. And they go quicker. The quarterbacks go a little bit quicker in this format. I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. I'm going to bank on the fact that it's still going to be a huge wide receiver run from here toward the end of this round and then back. And quarterbacks are going to fly off the board. And not to mention, only 2 tight ends have gone. So very, very much fine with this trio that I've got. And having maybe a weaker RB room at surface level, I'm fine with. ETN was a nice pick. I could have went ETN. Jacobs, I'm gonna try the double decker with the quarterback and see what I can get at RB. Go, Sebastian. You got anything else? Go ahead.
For another bust candidate, honestly, I think Rachaad White should definitely be up there for sure.
Yeah, if I expand it, Mixon and Rachaad White will be in the conversation. I don't know that I'm going to lock Rachaad White into a total avoid, but I do feel like he is very, very, very. He's got some red flags, right? One, he was horrible between the tackles last year. No matter how much you want to pretend he wasn't because he had a good year ultimately, he was great because he was an amazing PPR back and he got volume. So, but they bring in Bucky Irving, which kind of was a good thing in a way, even though they drafted a running back, because he's kind of a similar running back. So it's not like he's coming in like Braylon Allen to get all of the between the tackle work and scare the hell out of every Rachaad White owner. Rachaad White owners were like, wait a minute, they drafted his twin. You know, like why would you bring in and he's not as good, I don't think, but why would you bring in a guy that mirrors his game kind of, and not bring in a between the tackle guy? Because the Bucs have made it very clear, the coaching staff, that they wanted to run the ball better between the tackles, and they may bring someone in. So, yeah, but the mere fact that I don't know that the Bucs will repeat what they did. I don't know that Baker Mayfield, even though he proved me wrong last year, I admit it. I don't know that he's going to repeat what he did. I don't know, bro. I'm not super duper high on Rachaad White, but I'm also not gonna say he's necessarily a bust candidate, though. You know what I mean? Like, but I would talk about him, and he probably would be on the list to discuss. But I probably would like leave it in a way that was like, hey, this isn't a bust candidate, but this is a very tread lightly, be careful candidate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean Baker has to repeat what he did last year, this year, for him to be as good of a receiving back as he was. The whole offense has to be clicking. And then he's got new competition, too. I mean, what if Bucky Irving, like, maybe we didn't see it in college, but what if he does become just a better all-around running back? I mean, Rachaad White, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was taken, like, pretty late, similar draft capital with Bucky Irving. I'm not going to write him off yet, but I can see him getting phased out, similar to a Dameon Pierce.
So here's where it puts me, you know, puts me to the test here, is like I'm approaching Rachaad White territory. You know what I mean? Like I got to decide whether I'm going to make Rachaad White one of my running backs in this build, in this specific build. Oh, jeez, man, this is wild. I'm going to keep going with. This is not a typical Smitty team. I'm going to go Tank Dell. I got Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurts, Tank Dell. Truly, to the T, without fail, best player available is putting me on this path. I like it. I just didn't want to force it. I mean, I might go Rachaad White if he hangs, if he makes it around, and I don't know that he will because I'm talking about it right now, and usually that means he gets sniped. But he's not a bad player at this, you know, juncture of the draft, but he's certainly a concern. Like that's why I said I wouldn't put him on the bust list, but I'd certainly have a conversation about it. But I don't know. He you know, like you get to this point and push comes to shove, it's hard to say no when I have no RBs yet. You know, it's tough. It's a very good debate to have though.
I think James.
Smitty, what do you think of
Neighbors? Two rookie running backs as well, so that's even more competition, and he already disappointed as well.
So, like right here, I could go Andrews or I could go Rachaad White. I don't think I'm gonna force. I'll probably go White here. This is an example of when do you pull the trigger on him. I'm not saying I love it, but I also don't hate it. You know what I mean? Like I'm worried about him for sure. Again, enough to make my bust conversation that I'd have with everybody, but the conclusion again that I would draw is that he's not a bust, but there's a lot of red flags. You know, cuffing Bucky Irving to him might be the solution, and you just do it and you don't fret too much about him. But 5th round is okay. 4th round, no thank you. 6th round, very good. But I guess this is where I get pushed to the limit, right? I have no RBs. I'm in round 5. And, having that conversation with you, I guess we just tested my, what would you say, the limit of where I would let him fall. The potential bust capability he has is acceptable, I guess, in the 5th round with no RBs. Go ahead, Pete. You said something. Neighbors, would you ask me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just curious what your thoughts are on Neighbors for the year. What do you think? He's going to have lots of targets? He's going to get a lot of production? What do you think?
Well, I mean, bro, they could. If you were the starting wide receiver there, you would get a lot of targets. Doesn't mean you catch any of them. You know what I mean? Like, sure, he's going to get a lot. Going to get a lot of targets, but will they be great throws? Will he have 3 quarterbacks throughout the entirety of the year? Will he have to get to know and have build rapport with 3 different quarterbacks? It's at least going to be 2. I can almost guarantee you that. And Danny Dimes is said to be on track enough to be ready for week 1, he says, but bro, I don't know. I've heard different things, and everybody's always overly optimistic about that stuff. I don't think I don't think it's smart to count on Neighbors at 2nd or even 3rd round value in redraft. I don't think it's smart. Do I think he could be a good wide receiver 2 at some point? Do I like him? I love him. I love him. I think, in time when he gets his new quarterback, hopefully in 2025, he can be the player we all want him to be. But when your team doesn't live near the red zone, bro, what's he going to do? Is he going to have 10, 15 touchdowns on all long TD grabs? So for me, I'm kind of looking at Neighbors as a 5-6 touchdown guy if we're lucky at 1,000 yards, which is good, but that's not 2nd or 3rd round material. Nowhere near it. Where do you go in this draft?
Sounds worse.
Where do you go in this
You
draft?
just put in the 5th round. First pick in the 5th round.
Wow, that is pretty good, though. That prices him in about 5-6 touchdowns and let's say 1,100 yards. Let's say he has that. That's okay. So, but in weekly winners, the reason you see him fall, he's got a 2nd to 3rd round ADP in Best Ball Mania, in tournaments that have a playoffs and all that. He doesn't. In weekly winners, I guess people aren't expecting him to pop as much.
Hard to stack him too, probably, huh?
Yeah, but I that's secondary to me. I definitely enjoy a good stack, but I don't force it. This is going to get interesting here. I'm not saying I'm going to take him. I'm not trying to bait anybody to take him in front of me, and I'm also not saying I will pass on him. But David Montgomery's also, as much as I don't expect him to do what a lot of other, Gibbs haters and people that don't have a lot of Gibbs shares that are rooting against Gibbs are like, Monty's not going away. Monty's still got pretty decent value in this kind of scenario where he could get me probably 10 touchdowns. I think Monty will have 8 to 10 touchdowns pretty easily in 2024, and that won't affect my evaluation or prediction or expectation for Jahmyr Gibbs at all. That's nothing. He's going to have 900 yards, 800 yards, and 10 touchdowns. A good running back 3-4 to have. In this particular build, my running back 1 and 2 are going to look a little different than the average Bears because I went wide receiver, Jalen Hurts, wide receiver, which I typically don't do, but I always tell you guys I will draft best player available every single time, which accounts for what my team looks like. My team, what I need is included in that. And it doesn't mean I take the top guy in the ADP list. That's not what best player available means. And there goes David Montgomery. That would have been a pretty decent pick for me here. Damn. This one's tough. I kind of like Kenny Walker here. I'm going to go Kenny Walker. I think to have Rachaad White and Kenny Walker without taking an RB until the end or the beginning of round 5 is pretty good. You guys agree?
I end up getting a lot of Kenny Walker because that's where he's available in that dead zone kind of area.
Yeah, and Andy is a whole different scenario. He's not dealing with Pete Carroll anymore. Where it's like, God, that offense it felt like they just didn't want to feed him. But I really do like the idea of Ryan Grubb, unleashing him a little bit. Now, I'm going to take this guy a little bit early because I need the firepower and shot, but I'm going to go Najee Harris. So Najee Harris, Kenneth Walker, Rachaad White, three pretty solid RBs. Don't you guys think? I mean, there's some firepower there considering in a weekly winner contest.
Yeah, I like how that worked out for you. That worked out really well for you.
Yeah. I mean, weekly winners, it's all about 1 week. This is not about anything else. That's why Derrick Henry has a little bit more value. Christian McCaffrey shouldn't even be a moment of hesitation to make him the number 1 overall player and weekly winner, because you could literally win $20K in week 1. Week 2 has nothing to do with week 1. McCaffrey could be out weeks 1 through 10. Doesn't matter. If he comes back at week 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and he's the top running back, you can win $20K in each one of those weeks individually. So weekly winners changes a lot. I like the squad. Do I have any other super chats? I don't think I do. Do I have any gifted memberships?
One more question for you, Fargo. You tend to wait on tight ends a lot of notice on your drafts. Is that kind of one of your strategies?
Wait on Pickens?
No, on tight ends.
Oh, tight ends. No, not always. I take Laporta a lot. You might miss it. I take Laporta a lot. But yeah, when Laporta's gone, and I take Kelsey a lot too. I take Kelsey and Mahomes together a lot in round 4 and 5 if I can pull it off. But I sometimes do it in 3 and 4 or whatever. But no,
give Goddard a lot of notice too.
Yeah, I do, because I draft a lot of Jalen Hurts, so that does work out for me a lot of the time. But I think Goddard is one of the more attractive tight ends to grab outside of the top 10 that could be top 6. I really think Goddard could be top 6. Graven in the house. What's up, Graven? Graven in the building. I know Graven's been trying to get my undivided attention the entire show, talking about me buying him a PS5 or whatever. Is it a PS5 or what is it? PS6 now? PS7? What is it? PS10? Last time I bought one was a PS5. What is it at? Is it at 6, 7?
I think it's still at 5.
It's still 5?
I think so.
Really? They haven't brought out another one? I mean, like the iPhone, there's a new one every eight days. Sebastian says PS69. Phone line's open, guys. Dial into the show.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Brought to you by theattic.shop. Get all your movie apparels, hoodies, and tees with movies from over 40 years ago. Godzilla, King Kong. It's like the coolest. If you love movies like I do, this was the best sponsorship when I ran into it. I was like, oh my God, I love freaking movies. I love Netflix. I love streaming. I love all that. And especially these like scary old school, hoodies and tees. Theattic.shop. The phone lines. The phone line's brought to you by theattic.shop, so go check it out. And we usually do giveaways and such. All right, phone. Someone's dialing in. Hang tight, guys. 570 caller. What is your name and where are you calling from? 570. Okay.
What's up, man? My name is Gage. I'm calling from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Gage from Pennsylvania. What's up, man?
Hey, I have a question for you. So, what do you think about the Tampa Bay offense this year, specifically your receiver and quarterback and tight end?
I like Mike Evans, but I do worry. I think someone would be crazy not to worry about when that drop off is going to happen. But I'm still drafting him. I don't like him in round 2 though. He goes too early in round 2. But I like Mike Evans in round 3. He went in round 3 in this draft. Not a Godwin fan. I realize a lot of people think he could get more utilized this year in that offense, but it's one of those guys I'm just gonna wait. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say just like you heard me talk about Rachaad White. I drafted Rachaad White in this draft, and I'm not excited about it. It's okay. It was good for the value, but it's weekly, so I can be okay with him having spike weeks and not doing anything in between the tackles some games and having a bad game. But I'm not super pumped about that Bucs offense. I don't think they repeat what they did last year. I know that's not what you probably wanted to hear, but
Are you worried about Cade Otton?
am I worried about him? I mean, I don't really think much about him. He's okay, but the thing is, the tight end pool, bro, is so deep. Like there's no need to draft Cade Otton. You know, you're talking about Goddard not even fitting in the top 10. You're talking about Hawkinson, who's injured, right? But he's not in the top 12 or 15. You got Dalton Schultz not in the top 10. You got guys like Cole Kmet, Pat Freiermuth, Ben Sinnott, Luke Musgrave, nowhere near the top 10. Like, you got such a ability to grab those guys. It makes it hard to think about Otton. I don't mind Otton as a backup, but not as my starter. I'm not huge on Tampa, bro.
I've been drafting a shit ton. I've been drafting a shit ton of Cade Otton, and for him to be my third tight end.
Yeah, that's fine. Sure. Yeah, I just think that I don't think Tampa is better this year, and I don't even know that they repeat what they did. I'm not a huge. I know Baker did. Baker's pretty good when he's counted out, but if we remember Baker, he's never consistent for long. Like, even if it was 1 year, he usually, falls off, or something. And maybe he doesn't, but I'm gonna let him prove that to me. I'm not gonna take a gamble on it, to be honest with you, bro.
And they went out and got a new QB coach, didn't they?
Yeah, I think I forget it. I forget who they brought in. But I'm not super, excited about Tampa, bro. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean, look, I wasn't last year, though. In all honesty, I wasn't last year, and I was wrong. So maybe I'm going to be wrong again. Maybe I'm just a Tampa hater, and I don't know it. I don't know. I just don't. It's hard for me to bank on Mayfield, bro. He's just been so erratic his entire career. Even when he was like, "Oh my God, we got something," in when he was a Ram and he came into that game and he was so good, and then he dropped off. And I know he played good all year, but if Mike Evans, like, there's a lot of moving parts. If Mike Evans falls off, what's Baker gonna do? Like, if that happens. So you got to rely on Evans not dropping off. You got to rely on Baker continuing to do very, very well. You got to rely on them able to run the ball and things don't get worse than they did last year. At least stay the same. But, like, do I think I look at this playoff bracket from last year, and do I think the Tampa Bay Bucks not only make the playoffs but win a playoff game? I'm going to say negative. Ghost Rider. I'm going to say they don't make the playoffs. I will probably put money on it, but doesn't mean I'll be right. I know some Buccaneer fans are going to.
That's a crazy statement.
Why?
That's a crazy statement.
Why?
To say that the Bucks won't make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Look who they have in the division. They have Atlanta. Okay, Atlanta's in the top. Okay, Bucks second. You have Carolina in the division. They're not going to do well. But then, wait, you have any other sports,
so
right?
let me just stop you there and say Atlanta's going to steamroll them. Okay, so now you got to win a wild card. You got to win 3 of the NFC wild card spots. It's no longer about the division, bro. If the Falcons win the division, that whole story you're telling me means nothing. So how is it that crazy? How is it that crazy when all that has to happen is the Falcons have to win the division? Then your story's done. Your story's cooked. Now you all of a sudden you got the Packers, you got the Lions, or let's say the Lions win their division or the Packers, whichever one. So whichever one doesn't, you got the Lions or the Packers in that wild card race, bro. Like, there's only 3 spots, bro. There's only 3 spots. You're telling me the Eagles and the Cowboys, we all know that the Eagles or the Cowboys can fold, but they could also win their division. You don't know that. They fold in the playoffs. So let's say the Cowboys and the Packers take 2 of the wild card spots. You only have 1 left. 1 left. You got the Rams. You got, the Cardinals are kind of on the come up. You got the Commanders are on the come up. I'll make you. I don't do these wagers very often, or these challenges. But you tell me what it is. Like, you buy a lifetime membership or I'll give you a lifetime membership. I'll give you the lifetime membership on the channel, which is a $99 value. Okay. On my thefantasyfootballshow.com. which is right here. I'll show you guys. TheFantasyFootballShow.com. I'll give you, it's $199. I mean, $199 for the lifetime content. I'll give that to you if you guys make the playoffs. And if you don't, you gotta buy the 1 year or you gotta super chat with the cost of a 1 year subscription, which is $45 or whatever for the yearly price, or buy it. You don't have to.
I think my opinion changed because there are so many super teams in the NFC.
Yeah.
I just thought that Tampa Bay does. I'm not saying they don't at all, but just I think they have a good chance.
Okay, but yeah, that's a different stance than that's a wild take that you were saying. My take was wild. You're backing off that. Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
and that's respectable that you can say that. Like I'm not going to clown on that. I need to draft it real quick. Hold on, guys. Let's see here. I'll go Kirk Cousins because I'm timing out, damn it. Let me show my team. So got Jalen Hurts and Kirk Cousins. I don't have any stacking really going on, which is fine. Weekly winners, it's not as needed, believe it or not. There's some data to suggest that stacking still does help, a slightly more higher percentage teams get into that top 10, but doesn't mean people can't. Okay, hold on. I got to make one more draft selection, and then they'll be able to chat with you again. Hold on. Oh, jeez. Who do I roll with?
Done.
I'm going to go... Mayors? I'm going to go with Chase Brown. Okay.
Yeah, bro, you got that second half volume.
I like Chase Brown. So I have 4 RBs right now. Rockout, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. And then I had another super chat from Pete. Is that Pete on the phone or the Pete? Yeah, that was Pete that was just on the phone. This is for your next weekly winner draft. Also, odds on Denny calling back in tonight. I would say negative 100% that Denny's calling in. Pete, thank you for the $10 holler. You get a moon shot for every $10 holler, so I appreciate you. Negative 100% Denny. Unless Denny gets up to Leak the Lizard and then just happens to dial in while he's doing that, I don't think he's coming back because you could tell the progression. The first call, he was about 8 out of 10 of staying awake. He was kind of falling asleep. And then when he called back the second time, that boy's lights were out already. His eyes were closed during the call. And then when he hung up, he crashed. All right, what were we talking about?
The Bucs offense. Now, here's the thing. 2 players I've been staring down in later rounds that I'm not too confident in. They're both from New Orleans. I've been drafting Juwan Johnson and A.T. Perry so often, at least 50% of the time I'm drafting.
I'm not. I don't hate it. I like A.T. Perry a little bit, but I don't know. That's not something that I'm crazy about. But I could change my mind on it. I definitely don't feel like against him. I don't have that desire. All right, hang tight. Travis, you're live. What's up?
Hey, what's going on?
Yo.
With A.T. Perry, it doesn't hurt to have some fears because someone's going to step up and take that second receiver.
Hey, Gage, you can call back in. You don't have to hang up.
Thomas is gone.
Yeah.
So I grab him here and there.
Yeah, let me preface that and say I do grab him. He's not somebody I'm scooping up left and right. But hey, like if that's Gage's guy, Gage, you can call back in. I didn't mean for you to hang up. I was just going on to Travis. But I just don't love him. He's not somebody you're gonna hear me talk up a lot on a single show or something. But I don't mind him. I don't mind A.T. Perry. I liked him a lot last year. It's just he didn't.
He had a couple of hard games. Michael Thomas is gone now, though, and so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that offense. how Carr is, if Carr is healthy. Because, I mean, if Carr's healthy, he's not a god-awful quarterback, but I just don't know that, like you said with Olave, I love Olave, but his ceiling worries me because, I don't know, Carr did well with Devontae Adams, I guess, so maybe there's a shot. But on the Bucks, I was gonna say I don't like them as a team too much. I mean, they're one of those borderline playoff teams, I think. But in terms of best ball, they're definitely interesting because, like you've been taking a lot of McMillan lately, right? In later rounds and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I do like
there's some
McMillan.
decent receiver talent, even if Evans or Godwin goes down, and Adam Bucky Irving, But I mean, like you said, I would never take Baker as more than my third quarterback in best ball.
Yeah, I agree. I probably wouldn't even take Baker, to be honest, but
I don't think I have any shares of him.
Yeah, I don't think I've even timed out on Baker. I'm gonna go Leggett here.
I'd rather roll the dice on someone else.
I love Leggett here. I'm fine with that. Gage, call back if you thought I was kicking you off. I was just moving on to Travis, and everybody kind of stays on the line. Sometimes it depends. During the season, I don't do that as much, but at the end of the show, maybe. But during the off season, a lot of the time, you can hang out a little bit.
See, like, this is one thing, like, Sebastian and I, we go back and forth sometimes, just, not in a bad way, just kind of debating and stuff, because he's a very big, like stacker, and I think he was one of the guys that was okay with only having two quarterbacks or whatever. Said, like, I take Baker as a QB 2 or 3 behind the bully if I'm stacking Evans or Godwin, but I'd rather have another quarterback with
Me too.
Evans or Godwin most
Me too.
Most of
the stack doesn't. It doesn't. The amount of times that's gonna. I'd rather grab a guy that's gonna outscore, especially in weeklies. Gonna outscore. Hold on one second.
Evans could have 140 yards, and go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know what I gotta maybe just take a good backup tight end here because I'm risking the biscuit here with Bowers, and so like the tight ends are flying off the board, so I just went likely kind of early, but I didn't want to. I wanted somebody because that could be my downfall here is the tight end position if Bowers gets hurt or something, because even likely is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel good about that.
Fryermuth, Musgrave, they all just went.
Yeah, I mean,
you're getting down there.
it's not. It was the best pick. I like him. I just don't. I was hoping that Musgrave was going to fall to me, and he didn't because I'm drafting with my own people. So we are going to snipe each other left and right.
Yeah.
But my team so far, add likely to this list. I got Jalen Hurts and Cousins. I've got Rachaad White, Kenneth Walker, Harris, and Chase Brown. I've got Jamar Chase, Debo, Dell, Watson, Leggett, and Brock Bowers, and likely. So it's pretty good. I like it for weeklies. And again, every week is individually compartmentalized from the others. There's no playoffs. There's no importance of week 15, 16, 17. They're all equally important. Week 1, you can win $20,000, and then the everybody resets. And then week 2 plays, you can win $20,000, $10,000 to second place, and so on. I think it might be like 9. Let me see. It goes. The prizes go $20,000 to first place any given week. Weeks 1 through 17. So week 4, if you win week 4 but have a horrible weeks 1, 2, and 3, you win week 4, you beat everybody out in the whole entire weekly winner player pool, you win $20K. Second place is $10K. Every single week, these are the prizes. Third place is $5,500. Fourth place is $4,000. Fifth place is $3,500. Sixth place is $3,000. Seventh place is $2,500. Eighth place is $2,000. Ninth place is $1,500. 10th place is $1,250. 11 through 15 is $1,000. 16 through 20 is $750. So on, so on, so on. That is weekly winners, ladies and gentlemen, and it's glorious. It's my favorite. It's definitely my favorite contest that they have. Worst team, says Rock Out. I'm sure yours isn't worse than it's. You'll always say that, Rock Out. Rock Out's got Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jacobs, Devontae Smith, Kyle Pitts, Keon Coleman, Jordan Love, Trey Benson, Justin Herbert, Spears. Not bad. I mean, I will say I've seen you draft better teams, but it's good. It's really good. I mean, if it's similar to mine in a way. If Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Devontae Smith all ball out, and then Jacobs, you technically I have a better quarterback than you and Hurts, but you got a better running back than Josh Jacobs than me. So it's very similar. You got a better tight end than Kyle Pitts. Very, very similar team. I like it. I've seen it draft better. I've seen me draft better too, but this is not my favorite team I've ever drafted by far. It's not.
Someday when we have time, we got to get John on the line and ask him what players he actually likes, because Musgrave just got put in the list of players.
He likes anybody I don't like, because I don't even know why. I don't even know why John's here. But he seems to like the show. I think. I mean, he super chats once in a while.
He's good. He's good. He contributes in the chat.
Yeah,
he has a good conversation. It cracks me up how he doesn't like anybody.
I don't think he likes anybody that I like. I think he's the anti-Smitty.
He hates Kincaid. He hates Musgrave.
He's the bizarro Smitty.
Yeah, that's it.
How are you going to say Musgrave in the same situation as Kincaid and wouldn't put up numbers? And won't put up numbers.
Because there's two tight ends on the team.
What are you saying, Sebastian?
He thinks Knox is going to take away.
What are you saying, Sebastian?
Oh, John said that Musgrave is in the same situation as Kincaid, and that he won't put up numbers. I'm like, how are they going to be in the same situation? But Kincaid's already put up numbers.
Because it's Knox and Kraft.
Maybe he's saying. Maybe is he saying currently, or like he's seeing it as a similar? I don't know.
He said will.
He said don't draft a young tight end on a team that has two of them, referring to Musgrave, Kraft, and Knox and Kincaid. He thinks the other ones are going to take away too much work from.
I don't know.
In my opinion,
whatever. I took Jermaine.
Speaking of young tight ends, though, likely to the moon.
Yeah, I mean, he's still going to be involved even if Andrews is healthy, but like Andrews hasn't stayed healthy. Like there's a really good shot likely's, getting in weekly some major run at least a handful of like 4, 5, 6 straight weeks or something like that. By the way, I took Jermaine Burton, kind of cuffing him in a way to Jamar Chase. I kind of like doing this in weeklies because if Chase were to go down, then that would be something where I think Burton's going to do something. So I kind of like that move. Let's see here. I have 2 quarterbacks. I have 4 RBs. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers. I technically, I could take another wide receiver, but I don't necessarily have to. On the clock right now, RBs. I don't know what to do here. Don't really love anybody here, so I'm going to meander on over to the tight end position again. And I'm going to say, I guess I'll go Chigakonkwo and just hope he gets something. I mean, we really liked him. He's a good player. It just didn't work out last year, and I kind of feel
he could be open a lot more.
As a third tight end, it's not horrible, and I needed somebody that was like starting and Musgrave. Like I like Musgrave and Kraft together. My plan was to get Luke Musgrave and then get Kraft, and then I'm cuffing that as my tight end 2, and then Bowers would be my 1. But I was gonna go Kraft here, but I decided not to because Kraft is injured right now. Probably should be ready for week 1, but you never know. And the fact that I don't think he's the number 1, I'd rather just take maybe a little bit lesser player right now in a Okonkwo, but one that's starting.
I actually called to ask because you had Aaron Jones as one of the avoid this year, I think, right, at running back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is he up there on the list? Yeah.
Yeah.
So say he goes down or doesn't work out, whatever. What do you think of Ty Chandler? Like, do you have him on a similar level to a Jerome Ford, or
I think
not
less.
as good or better?
Do I like him as a
less.
player? Yes, but do I think that if Aaron Jones goes down, if Aaron Jones isn't going to produce to my liking, given that everyone's going to go, hey, JJ, beat us by throwing the football, like it's going to be stacked boxes, I just think the Vikings fall apart to a degree. I don't know that they fall apart completely. Maybe they surprise a little bit. I don't know, but I certainly don't feel like the odds are great that they are as good as they were last year. You know what I mean? Like, pretty tall order. So that means defenses are focusing on shutting down the run. The yards per carry go down. I like Ty Chandler, but I just don't. If you drafted Aaron Jones, it's good to cuff him. But good God, man, I don't know that I want any part of that room regardless. Really, there's just better options. It's not that I hate it. It's not like Aaron Jones disgusts me if I auto draft him late in a draft or something. But I can just always find somebody I like better every time I'm on the clock. And Ty Chandler, I can always find someone I like better every single time I'm on the clock. That's what it's about. Sometimes it's not about hating a guy, you know.
Right.
Man, all my
Where's
all my guys getting sniped.
Where's Amari Cooper ranked in weekly winners? Because I saw some stats about him, how he's been like one of the top deep ball receivers over the last couple of years.
He's going in the 5th round.
It's funny because he's a really good route runner too.
Yeah, I mean, Amari Cooper's, he always kind of surprises. But I would say the one thing that will worry me is that, like, I don't know. I think he's good. I think he's right. The 5th round, I'd take the gamble. But again, if you put him in round 4, I can just find too many players I like better.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second. I got a draft. Jeez, man. I'm at a timeout, so I just took him. I took Tyrone Tracy. He's like 75-year-old rookie.
Yeah.
He's so. How old is he? Isn't he 25?
Gotta have some of those. I think he's 25. Yeah.
Tyrone Tracy is 24 years old, turning 25 this year in November. But I really like him. But I don't know that I don't love him, but I like him. Okay, so I got my running back room full. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 3 tight ends. Okay, so I can take one more wide receiver, and I need a quarterback. So probably gonna roll with this plan of attack. I'm gonna go Penix Jr. to cuff to Kirk Cousins, and then I have Jalen Hurts as my starter. So
Hurts and Cousins don't have the same bye week, do they?
If they do, it doesn't. I don't. I don't really care too much. I mean, just because they, if you had all your guys on the same bye week, at least you're more loaded up for the remaining 16 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Cousins and Penix have the same bye. Damn it! I didn't look at that. I'm just kidding. My RB room looks good anyway. I don't have anybody. Yeah, I don't have any conflicts anyway. Looking at my team. I need one more wide receiver, but I'll put my team on screen here. So this is complete minus the last player that I'm about to draft. Here's the squad. So I've got Jalen Hurts at quarterback. I got Kirk Cousins and Penix Jr. as my QB2 in weekly winners, and I love doing that kind of stack because I'm very, very safeguarded by having both the Atlanta Falcons quarterbacks, because if Hurts goes down, I'm kind of like invincible except for the bye week. Sure, all 3 of them could get hurt, but that's just, that's crazy luck. But if Hurts were to go down, I'm guaranteed, in my mind at least, as much as I can guarantee myself, having minus the bye week starter every single week. Rashad White, Kenneth Walker, Najee Harris, Chase Brown, Tyrone Tracy, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, Tank Dell, Christian Watson, Leggett, Burton, and Bowers, and my 3 tight ends, Bowers, Likely, and Okonkwo. So pretty solid squad. I got one more pick left. I'll probably go wide receiver and just get one more guy, one more body in there. But I mean, my wide receiver
Wilson, if you want to stack him with Hurt.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Jamar Chase, Deebo, Tank Dell, and Christian Watson are so good though that like I could potentially say this wide receiver room is so strong. I'm going to go 100% best player available between running back, wide receiver at this next pick. But, you know, only because my RBs from the jump were light. And so it's not crazy to be like, okay, what if Najee gets hurt, Walker's playing like trash, and White's sharing carries, and all of a sudden I'm so pissed off that I've got no shot at any sort of great runner when my wide receiver room is going to be off the hook. I mean, Tank Dell, Deebo. I mean, I guess you could say Tank Dell, Deebo, Chase, Watson are all injury risk, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go. The percentages say that going wide receiver is slightly better, but it's not like a nail in the coffin or anything, especially because it's not factoring in that I went heavy wide receiver, and so my percentages of going running back might be better for my particular build to advance into the top 10 in one individual week than, you know, so that's what's great about weeklies is like you kind of can the data is only like an assist, and that's why I don't use a lot of the best ball data from the previous year, because every year's different, and if you structure it too much after something, the model doesn't fit the breakouts, the amount of RBs, the amount of wide receivers that are in the wide receiver pool, how strong the tight end position is, how strong the quarterback position is this year. Those things aren't taken into account. And if you try and build off of last year's winner, the person that's driving against traffic that's not doing that, even if they do it by mistake because they're a novice in a way to best ball, they're a very good drafter. They're a very good mind of fantasy, but they're going against traffic and they have no idea that everybody's saying you got to have, you know, 6 or 8 wide receivers instead of 7 or whatever the data says from one year to the next. They might totally clean up because they're going against traffic and there's less teams that are like it. So I'm just very, very cautious about advising people to act like this best ball data and some of this content people shove down people's throat. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of the way people look at this stuff half the time. I really
like
just.
You said, it's so new still.
Yeah. Okay, so I got it.
Like what, 2 years of data.
I'm gonna trust my gut here and go another RB because my wide receiver room's so good. Do I take Will Shipley, Philly, Estime in Denver, Braylon Allen in New York? Which one? 10 seconds.
Shipley or
Braylon.
Go Shipley or Estime.
All right, I went Shipley.
I guess we didn't help him. We named all
Yeah,
three
you guys just confused me. That's right. Go one of the 3. Thanks. Take one of them.
At that slot, I'll tell you why I said Braylon. At that slot, you're not expecting much out of him at all, and out of all of them, he's the most premier handcuff out of all of them. So if he does pop, you would get the most value out of him.
Yeah, maybe.
Definitely the riskiest, the highest ceiling.
Maybe.
I mean, Barkley goes down though. Shipley could be a PPR.
Yeah, Shipley's on Shipley's in a great offense, but yeah, you could argue either way. All right, real quickly, Christian. I'm just gonna
I like Braylon though.
Real briefly go over these teams. I'm not gonna even scroll down because I'm just gonna look at what you guys started with. McCaffrey, Laporta, Josh Allen. I love that start. I don't love DJ Moore and Neighbors as your first 2 wide receivers and Worthy, but it's weekly, so could they all pop at the same time? Yeah, but I think DJ Moore doesn't have near the same value this year. I think people that draft him off, I don't want to say name recognition because it's not like that, but off of I don't know, remembrance of last year. Like he's in such a crowded wide receiver room. I just don't love the receivers there. But I love the start. Rasheed Rice and Worthy together might end up being a pretty solid saving grace for you there. And if James Cook has a monster year and surprises me, then like you're in business. So you got a really good team. And you have McCaffrey. It's weekly winners. You're kind of like have a huge advantage just having McCaffrey in weekly winners. So because even if he gets hurt midway through the season, you got as strong a shot at anybody as smashing with these three guys. So I love your team. You're definitely in the mix each week. Like you should be happy with that 3. I would have done a little different building here, but that's fine. Lamb, Olave, Kelsey,
Worthy
Pittman.
Rice is smart.
Yeah, Lamb, Olave, Kelsey, Pittman, Dak, Zamir. It's a good team. Yeah, I don't hate it or love it, but it's not bad at all. Chase, this is my squad. Chase, Debo, Hurts, Tank Dell, Rashad White, Kenneth Walker, Najee Harris, Christian Watson, Brock Bowers, Kirk Cousins, et cetera, et cetera. I'd say I'm in the top 6, but I don't think I'm the best team. I don't think, but I'd say I'm in the top 5 or 6. I like my team a lot. I mean these wide receivers are off the chain with Jalen Hurts, and then honestly, I don't think I could have done. The only way I would have had a better team is if I wasn't drafting with all you snipers. I would have got Benson and Jalen Warren. On top of Rashad White, Walker, and Harris, I would have got Benson here and Jalen Warren here. So, but then I wouldn't have Christian Watson and Bowers, so, you never know. So, but I would have definitely had a better running stable. Bijan, Ayuk, Mike Evans, Anthony Richardson, George Pickens, Monty, Zach Moss. Good squad. I wouldn't say it's first, but it's definitely got a shot. I wouldn't say it's bad at all. This one right here, Amon-Ra, Adams, ETN, Mixon, McLaurin. That's good. Tyreek, Henry, DK, Kincaid, Kamara, Burrow. I love this team. It's good. I'd say top 6 for sure. Breece Hall, Kyron, Mahomes. You couldn't have started better. Let's see what you do. Higgins, Hollywood, Kirk, Ramondre. It's good. God, if the wide receivers just would have fell a little bit. In a non-snipe draft, you would have probably had like 2 better wide receivers. You would have had Devontae Smith. You probably would have had Devontae Smith. You could have had Tank Dell, though. I don't know. I probably would have. If this was not in this draft, this don't be afraid to try this build again outside of our community, because I think you'll be very happy more than 50% of the time with these 2 wide receivers here. So I love the build, I really do. And then you get maybe a Devontae Smith or Tank Dell or Cooper Kupp here with this T. Higgins pick. And then maybe you're still getting Pickens or McLaurin. Now, if you like T. Higgins in Hollywood, that's fine. Don't let me influence you away from what you like. I'm just telling you my thought. JJ, Devon Achane, Waddle, Pacheco, Amari Cooper, Lad McConkey, Mostert, Jordan, Addison, Tua. Pretty good. It's obviously a Miami Dolphin-esque team, and so you're going to hit those weeks. So I think you don't win this unless the Dolphins explode. So you're banking on the Dolphins, and that limits you, I think, in some ways, to have like as many chances at winning 20K, but who cares about chances if you can't win it? You know what I mean? You could have 17 better chances, but they all are kind of just like barely better chances, and you lose all 17, obviously. But maybe you have a better chance than everybody for 2 of the weeks out of the entire 17 than majority people have, and you're banking on that with that Miami Dolphins stack. So that's what's great about weeklies, is because it could be something crazy like that makes you win it, and you don't like you could have one of the worst teams on average outside of the week you won it, but you could win 20K and then have for the other 16 weeks have a team that's always like in the bottom like 10%. So weeklies is great. Gibbs, Drake London, McBride, Stroud, Reed, Ridley, Jonathan Brooks, JSN, Eckler. Really good team. That's Ray G stage. That's a great team, bro. That is textbook Smitty built team weekly winner material right there. Because Jaden Reed I love, Ridley, could pop at any moment. Jonathan Brooks will get on his horse in weeklies at some point. Love JSN. Eckler in weeklies is great. Stroud, McBride, Drake London. You definitely have a top 3 team.
That's a deep team.
Yeah, rock out Garrett Wilson, Marvin. I think you're in the top 6. I ranked yours already. Top 6 for sure. Puka, A.J. Brown, Nico, Lamar, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Aaron Jones, Jalen Warren. No thanks, man. Your running backs are you just did this too long. The Zay Flowers and Andrews pick. I mean, Andrews and Lamar you wanted to cuff. I get it. But maybe don't take Nico here. Maybe take now you got sniped. God, Jacobs would have been perfect for this team. Then I would have kind of liked it.
Oh, yeah.
And then let's see here. You could have got maybe. I mean, you got sniped at RB2 though. I don't know. I don't know how I would have done it, but I would have looked different. Is all I know. But I don't know that I would have. I probably would have been pissed off with the sniping. I think you got sniped hard. This 12 spot Barkley JT. Oh, you went with the double RB. This isn't quite the tripod though, because the quarterback you took later, but it's almost tripod-esque here. Barkley, JT, Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Kyler, Kittle, Hopkins, Swift, Chubb. I like this team. I think this is a shot at being a top 6 team. I wouldn't lock it in, but it's definitely there. I like these squads. They look really good. All right, boys. I'm not gonna rush you off, but let me go to Sebastian to get your final thoughts, and then I probably will. I don't want to say Netflix and chill, but I'll be Netflixing and eating some dip, and watching Dune Part 2, which I didn't even get to last night. I was trying to watch Dune 2. I was trying my best to get off the show to watch Dune 2. I didn't get to it, but I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to Netflix and dip. Sebastian, go.
James Cook equals mega bust. Calling it right now.
Yeah, I'm not huge on James Cook. He would definitely, him and Mixon, and again I'll talk about Rachaad White, but I'll probably be like, he's not a bust, but he's a concern. But Mixon and Cook I'm not fans of those guys for this year at the ADP.
Why is everyone so high on Mixon?
I mean, he was running back 3 or 4 last year. He was running back 3 or 4 last year.
Probably because of what
he finished.
Yeah, he was in the top. Go look at any one of your leagues. He finished running back 4 or 3.
What? I didn't even know that.
Go pull up a league and see. I want you to try. I want you to try it. Pull up a league. I want you to look at it.
It was that high. Wow.
I know. It was actually astonishing. But I know.
I knew he had a decent year, but
nah, bro, that's crazy.
Look it up. Did you find it? I want you to look it up. I want you to see it. I want you to see it with your eyes.
Yeah, number 3 on ESPN. That's insane.
It is. And it wasn't like he finished very badly, but I noticed a decline. The other thing too is when you look at his game log, it doesn't look like a running back. Is running back 4 in the league I'm pulling up here. It doesn't look like running back 4. Now, granted, that factors in week number 18, which he was running back 5. So if you take that out, I bet you he falls to like 7 or 6. So it's kind of skewed data a little bit. But let's look at Mixon's running back finishes each week. He was 27. This does not look like running back 4. Tell me if it does. It doesn't. Like, you're not wrong in wondering. 27, 18, 16, 30. He started off horrible. 14, 26. He wasn't even good at the first 6 weeks. It wasn't that he was not bad. He was bad. Then bye week, but then he was running back 8, 9, 22, 5, 36, 1, 6, 15, 35, 12, and 5. But it still doesn't feel like running back 4. This is so bad right here. If I was spitballing this and you didn't give me the data and I didn't know the data, I would say, God, that's probably like 10, maybe 11. Like this would look like 10 or 11.
It had to have been because of the games he played. Just that Brian Robinson was too high for too long.
What do you mean the games he played? This is how many times he was running back 1 through whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about that he wasn't missing games. Like Jahmyr Gibbs sitting out in the beginning of the year or missing a game.
Yeah, but it's still
Even Kyron.
it's still crazy though. Yeah, like finishing as running back 35 gets you what, 3 points? This is not based off just these numbers. This is based off scoring as well. So like, even if you're running back 36 or 35, you're scoring what, like 2 or 3 points? So who cares if you miss it or play it? But
because what was he points per game, right? He had to have been like 10 to 14
I don't know
per game.
I don't know, but that you asked the question, why is he so high? That's why. But I think we did physically notice a drop off. I did. I could tell he got a little bit slower. So, but the thing about that kind of analysis, though, is like maybe he was hurt and he never really is telling us what was going on, and he fixes it. But the thing is, Mixon, Ziggy, how old is Joe Mixon? He's 29 this year.
27.
Ziggy, how old is Joe Mixon? I think this is his 28-year-old season. Good God, Ziggy, how old is Joe Mixon?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
God, he's
Who were you asking about?
Ziggy, how old is Joe Mixon?
Joe Mixon is 27 years old and was born on July 24th,
Ziggy off. So he turns 28 in July. So technically speaking, this is his hold your breath, plug your nose year, just like McCaffrey's, just like Kamara's last year, just like Aaron Jones's last year, just like Eckler's last year. So this is his year where it all kind of comes crumbling down. The problem is, though, I would say, like in McCaffrey's case, we did not see him drop off, so he still has a shot. That plug your nose, hold your breath. Can he do it at 28? McCaffrey's set up for it. I don't know how long he plays. Maybe he plays the whole year elite and then falls off, or maybe he falls off mid-season. We've seen it happen a number of different ways at 28 years old with players that have had tremendous volume. This only factors in with tremendous volume. But let's say you're 32 years old, or you're Mostert. You're not going to do it consistently in your 30s, but you could have one pop-off year. But if you've been a workhorse your entire career, like Aaron Jones, like Eckler, even if Eckler's not workhorse to some people, he has absolutely been a workhorse his entire year in terms of volume. You cannot have a successful, unless you're Derrick Henry, he's an outlier, but you can never factor him into this because he is one in a million type of situation. You look at Mixon, entering his 28-year-old season, but showing a little bit of physical decline when you watch him play. It spells to me drop off. And as much as his situation is good, I'm going to stay away from it for the most part. But I don't know that I bet the farm on it that he's going to drop off, but I definitely am staying clear.
Well, it's crazy too, because obviously the Texans situation is a very good one. But I'm looking at his game log here. Aside from week 17, I guess it was, or week 18, where we went 14 for 111. He had over 80-yard rushing twice.
I know. It's a very deceptive game log.
Well, I'll tell you what helps him too is he did have 352 for 376 receiving. So he just tacks on 20, 30,
PPR.
40 yards and receiving here and there.
Does anybody have non-PPR? I don't. My grandma's not awake right now to call her and see if she can look under her scoring. Can anybody sort their non-PPR?
Half PPR, he was fifth. I know that.
Somebody sort their non-PPR running back data from last year and see if he's like 10 or 11 or 12, because it is really all receptions.
52 for 376 with 3 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah. It was kind of like, and I don't know. I think the receiving could be there. I mean, Singletary was pretty good, but I also think that it's almost one of those things where it's like unfortunate he got to this Houston situation, but he can't really unlock. He's going to kind of fall apart a little bit, but I could be wrong. I mean, 20, you can do it at 28. He's 27, turning 28. You can do it at 28. It's just a very, very delicate year, and he's in kind of an injury-prone guy. Some might say, Smitty, he's played, X number of games, but he's like always banged up or been banged up a big part of his career and would play on it. And then people always get mad at me, but you got a little bit of the, like, worry about what's he doing off the field. Because, I mean, as much as he was, you know, not said to be home during that, like, shooting at his house and everything, that was, his neighbors said they saw him, and all of a sudden he vanished, and the police got there and he wasn't there. And, you know, it's the same thing as Rashee Rice. Like, he wasn't there. He ran away. All right. Well, hey, boys, I'm going to go. Appreciate you. Anything else, Travis?
No, I'm all set. Appreciate
All right.
you,
Call tomorrow, boys. Later. Appreciate you, Sebastian. We'll see you later. It's crazy how many fantasy people copy this channel but don't give credit. Bro, everyone, they should be ashamed of themselves. Everybody copying everything we do. Everybody. But it's not flattery. It's embarrassing. But people copy this channel all the time. No one ever would give credit. Nor do I want someone to copy me, period, and give credit. Like, hey, I'm copying Smitty. Here's the credit. Like, just get your own stuff. You know, everyone trying to do this, you know, to Mars, to the moon man, like get out of here with it. Everybody knows it's embarrassing. You're embarrassing yourself. All right, I'm out of here. Appreciate you all. Don't draft. Do not draft these players right here. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Hey, Chan. Hey, Chan is the man. His haters call him small,
but he is 9 feet tall.
Chan is the man.
The double-decker, pronounced double-decker in academic circles, is drafting wide receiver back-to-back in rounds 1 and 2, using these plethoras of players. The double-decker.
These guys, the Four Horsemen, do it live. Look at the glory on screen right now. Look at this glory. Now, we're going to have to maneuver and move around potentially some of these guys who might fall and dip into different territories. But right now, I'm glancing at it. It looks pretty accurate. It looks pretty good. So, carry on.
The tripod, likened to pyramids in ancient Egypt, consists of drafting one of Allen, Mahomes, or Hurts to go with one of these round 1 running backs and one of these running backs in round 2. The tripod.
All right, see you all later. Appreciate you. Travis says his membership's going to run out. He was supposed to be at 20 months. Man, that sucks. So someone can someone drop one gifted membership and just see if it strikes Travis. Oh no, he's not green anymore. So yeah, it may. Oh no, he's blue though. Maybe it doesn't. You're not out yet, right? So it may not even be given to you. Never mind. Call it off. Abort. That'd be so funny if like somebody gifted one membership and it just happened because it goes randomly to somebody. It just happens to go to Travis. Boom. Oh no, he's not green anymore because wouldn't you have the? No, I don't know. I don't know if it shows that icon with it. That'd be hilarious. I should gift one. I don't know if I can gift on my own channel. Later, everybody. Appreciate you.
It's a story of a little Kyler raising 3 little monsters of his own. None had hair of gold, but the tight end, the youngest one, a goat. The story of a man named Penix raising 3 little Penixes of his own. They were all so messed up from their former father. They were all alone. The Penix met the Kyler, and they decided it was much more than a hunch. So they decided to collide and create a family. The Smitty Bunch, the Smitty Bunch, the Smitty Bunch. I give you monsters and Penixes and Bijons, the Smitty